Hello, 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 everybody. David Dulany here with another edition of the SDR messaging break and build with Mr. Ryan Reisert. How you doing today, sir?
I'm fired up, super excited for another session. These have been fun.
Yeah, man, this is number three. We're growing our list of people. We've got about 200 people now who have either signed up or joined us. Want to thank everybody for joining us today. Grab a lunch, grab a drink, grab a cup of coffee, and we'll break down some messaging and build them back up. Hopefully we can make everybody a little bit better. So Ryan, before I get started on that, a couple of quick things I just want to talk about. Last fall, when we did the conference, I teamed up with Gabe Larson at InsideSales.com. And if you guys don't know about it, they're doing an Inside Sales Summit right now with a bunch of speakers, myself included. Ryan, I think you got a presentation there. Are you on that one?
James is in there, I
James
think.
did. Okay,
Yep.
cool. So that's happening right now. And they also finally released the full report that they put out, the executive summary at the sales development conference. And basically they surveyed about 1,000 different sales development reps, managers, people who work around sales development on a bunch of different questions around like, how many times should I reach out? What tools are people using? What's working well? What doesn't work so much anymore? So you can email me to get a copy of the report or just go over to InsideSales.com. They probably have it somewhere, but definitely worth checking out if you kind of want to benchmark yourself against what's happening out there. So that was thing number one. Thing number two is we've got another webinar coming up. If you can mark your calendar, with a guy named David Premer, who I did a webinar with a while ago about the silent sales floor. And we've been working on it, and it's going to be kind of interesting and fun. It's about infomercials, and basically like what they do in an infomercial to move people from being bored and like sitting on their couch to actually picking up the phone and calling in. And there's a definite psychology to it. So we're going to kind of break that down and lay out the steps, and then hopefully you can use that in your messaging as well. So we're excited about that.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. It's going to be good. Okay, so let's dive in. I got tons of messaging. First of all, I want to thank everybody who sent in messaging. Nick, Hunter, a bunch of other people. Thank you for sending it in and just putting yourself out there. We've blacked out all the names to keep everyone innocent, but we definitely want to break these down, build them up. One thing Ryan and I both experienced this week, which I thought would be interesting to bring up, is we've just been getting a barrage of messages from a company that we all know and love. And I'll keep the name of the company, anonymous to save the innocent or the guilty. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, Ryan. And I just want to bring this up because it was a little disappointing to see a company that is actually in our space and is very well known and renowned that would hit us up with this kind of information. So the one thing that I thought was weird is that I kept seeing this guy's name pop up in my email box, and that could have been a good thing or a not so good thing. But it was a little bit weird because it turns out that I called up Ryan and I said, hey, I've been getting all these messages from this company. And he's like, hey, wait a minute. So have I. I've been getting the exact same messages. And Ryan, wasn't it true? You were getting the same messages. It was just under a different person's name, right?
That's right. The identical messaging, different SDR. And so it's fairly clear here that, this is a team cadence that's being used. And what we'll probably uncover here is on autopilot. So it's definitely some learnings to be had here.
Yeah, and I won't unpack this too much, Ryan, because I want to get into some of the other ones that we got. But the thing about this was that it was this relentless barrage day after day, and it really led with the product right at the upfront. It had nothing to do with the customization that we like to see. They didn't know much about who I was or what I was doing, and obviously it was a canned message. So in this case, you know, as the SDR, they might not have a lot of control over what other people are doing, but you know, this is going out under your name, and so you really want to make sure that you know there is some value in the messaging, and it doesn't end up in the spam box. What I thought was just weird about this was we got one after another, day after day. Ryan got the same ones, and then especially the example that they used for both of us, since we're both kind of in the education field around sales development, they used a large fast food company as the example, which had absolutely nothing to do with either of us. Is that right, Ryan?
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
right. And you know, there's a comment coming in from the chat here, and it's clear that this is an automated sequence. I'm all for sharing templates and messaging that's going to work for a specific persona, and even to have the follow up at this cadence. I mean, clearly got our attention, which is serving a purpose. But as you dive into the content itself, it's not really relevant or meaningful for either of us. And I'm not quite sure how each of us in our space got put into this segment. So the learnings here as we break this down and try to build something like this back up is, hey, you can definitely use tools like this in the right place at the right time, but just make sure that ahead of time that you're doing the necessary research to ensure that if you're going to use this segment, it actually speaks to who you're trying to go after, right? And in this case, this seems like a generic follow-up that several reps are using, and there's really no thought behind it. It's just follow up. You're off to the races. There's no segmentation happening. There's no potential oversight ahead of time. So instead of using the automatic sequence feature, you could use the manual step feature and just take a look. Is this still the person I want to be going after? So you're not getting yourself in this situation. Because it can blow up, right? It can blow up in your face.
Yeah, you definitely, I mean, I think the takeaway from this is if your whole sequence is on autopilot, you know, look in that, talk to somebody at the company if it's not you, to make at least the first one or two manual, you know, so that you can take a quick look. Okay, David Dulany, you know, not in the fast food industry. He's probably got, you know, these 2 or 3 priorities on his plate. Let me customize the first one a little bit, maybe customize the second one a little bit to speak to who I'm actually reaching out to versus just pressing a button and hoping for the best. I think my concern with something like this, Ryan, is that, yeah, definitely they got in front of us. They kind of dripped us enough to where we're actually talking about it, which that's good. But the thing is, if all we do is press buttons, then I'm afraid that we're going to get replaced by robots, because that's probably what they could do as well. So just be careful.
100%, right? We got to remember the why behind this. And I talk about this all the time to the students in our program. It's great that you have these tools that allow for this, but remember, you have to be more than just the tool. How are you going to separate yourself from the pack? And you got our attention here, not in the right way in this case, but with some changes and just a little bit of oversight, you maybe had a lead, but instead it's not really, it's actually frustrating. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Okay. So let's open up another sequence that came through over the week. The context here I want to read is this actually comes out from the VP of sales at the company. And so the SDR is working with the VP of sales to identify a number of mutual connections on LinkedIn, which I thought was interesting. And he notes that the professional circles, you know, overlap, and that's why he's reaching out. The goal, showcase my company X is capable of supporting your company in content production efforts. Okay. So they've kind of established why they're reaching out and, you know, how they got their name. And then he goes into, and this is on the first email, a lot of information about the platform here. You know, optimization engine, optimization, economical video. It's a big block of text. It doesn't come through this big on an email. I just have it on here for the webinar, but a lot of information. And then down here, it comes through with the, influential companies that they work with. And finally, the call to action on the 30-minute demo. So Ryan, I looked at this and I think it's interesting in that, I'm definitely more likely to take a meeting if you know somebody, within my inner circle, and you can have that connection. So I like that idea. And the fact that this might be coming from a VP of sales, that could be the same level as the person that they're trying to reach out to. So I like that as well. So you got two bonus points right there. The thing that's a little bit, off-putting or out front on this is, my goal is to schedule a call to showcase how my company can support you in blah, blah, blah. And it's like, and I want to get your thoughts on this. If you look at the calendar of a busy decision maker or someone that you're trying to reach, it's probably full of calls. It's probably full of meetings. It's probably full of different things. So to come out that quickly with demand for more time might be a little bit premature. We haven't really built up a lot of trust here, and now you're already asking for something. Ryan, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think that it's great tactic to maybe reference some mutuals and use the executive level engagement to start that relationship, because you certainly have a little bit more credibility coming from those levels, as you said. Those points are on the board. The challenge I have with this message as we break it down and build it back up is we've got to talk about those principles, right? What's in it for me? Nobody cares about your product or solution. And right away, you're getting right into it. And you're talking about yourself. You're not talking about them. What problem are you solving for them? My goal, here you are, you're talking about yourself, is to schedule a call. What about them? Where's the value there? What's in it for them? Right? So you totally forgot about them. What's in it for me? And, if we stick to those principles out the gate, we lead with problem, right? Major problem. How do we solve? We're going to have a little bit more success than what you do. It's great that your platform is a content creation optimization engine. Some buzzwords there. Not sure what that means. So what? What does that mean to me? What does content creation and optimization do for me based on the persona I'm targeting? Does that help me reach a greater audience faster? Does it help me personalize my content? I don't know what that means. And there's too much. You haven't helped me see that you're going to help me solve a problem.
Exactly. So hit them hard right at the beginning with the acknowledgement of the problem, and how you would help solve them versus getting into all the details about your goal and what your company does and all that stuff. You got to understand the problem. Having a mutual connection is great, but then it's like, okay, great. You have my attention for 1 millisecond. How can you help me?
Yep.
Okay, so here's the next one. So I thought you might appreciate these case studies about how whatever vertical you're in, like whatever company, is in your space, used to create content that performs 2x better. Can I borrow 30 minutes of your time? Okay, let's break that down. One is we're talking about the content creation and the better performance and et cetera, and all that stuff that has more to do with your company. And then can I borrow 30 minutes of your time to show you how you could benefit? Ryan, what do you think?
So it's interesting that they're leading with some case studies, some customer stories, linking into there, but and it talks about using content that performs 2x better than industry benchmarks. But what does that mean to them, right? The idea again is try to make this relevant to whoever you're going after. I don't necessarily, relevant examples, client verticals. You need to. I like where you're going with this, but go a little bit more towards that specific vertical and that specific segment. If you're going to do some messaging like this, you're already using dynamic insertion, so you can actually save yourself some time and have a more impactful message by doing the segmentation ahead of time and not having to have this generic piece of copy that is meant for multiple verticals and multiple segments. Each one should be specific to that segment. That way you can hone in on that specific problem. And the industry benchmarks could be replaced with whatever that specific industry benchmark is, right? So now it's a little bit more relevant to me. And then again, if I still don't really know what the problem is, now my content is performing better, but what does that mean to me? Again, so what? Like I need to know what this means to me. And obviously we don't have full context here of who we're getting targeted, but that's how I read this right now. But there's certainly a good read for, there's some metrics in there. And I see where they're going with that. Now, the borrowing 30 minutes of our time to show you how, you've got to have a call to action. This is a challenge I have sometimes because, there's some give and take here. If you hit me with the main problem that I'm trying to solve right now, you have some messaging there that's like, and you ask for my time, I'm probably going to be like, sure, let's go. But, so the whole 30 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, you have to have some sort of call to action. I'm curious what you think about this, David, and how you approach call to actions. But I'm not so, I don't know, I'm not so taken back from that because the call to action it's not great borrowing 30 minutes of my time if you're solving a big problem. Yeah, absolutely. But if you don't, it's not relevant. Yeah, probably going to be irritating, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not crazy about can I borrow 30 minutes of your time, but I would say that if I got an email and it addressed something that I was concerned about and it could potentially help me solve a problem, then maybe it's just, do you have time for a quick phone call? And then send them a phone call, I would say for like 15 minutes, just to see if they're a fit. Can I jump on the phone for, 15 minutes and just establish something? And, if there's a mutually beneficial thing, great. Or, just send them a calendar invite for 30 minutes after it, not necessarily put it in there. If they want to jump on a call with you, they'll reply. And more than 30 minutes, I think it's not going to get accepted. There's just too much for if they don't know how you can help them.
Yeah. And I mean, I think this goes back to the SDR's objectives, and most likely the management is asking for 30-minute demos. If they can't get a meeting for 30 minutes or longer, it's probably not counting. So remember, as an SDR, that might be your objective. But when you're engaging and building relationships with these cold prospects, sometimes it's okay for you to have that first 5-10 minute conversation, build a little rapport, dig into the problem, see if there's a fit, and then move on. It's getting you skills necessary to do deeper qualification and move yourself up the ladder as a true sales pro. And you don't have to get right to the end game. Remember, we want to date them before we marry them. So we can't go into proposal right out the gate.
No, that's a really good point. I mean, you look at it as almost like a chain. The first chain is just to get them to open the email. So that's, that's what we're talking about right now. Yeah. And then the second link is like, okay, that is a problem that I have. Okay, sure, I'll take some time with you. The third, it might not necessarily be that you're going to be able to hand over a BANT qualified meeting to your sales rep immediately. That first call could just be, like you said, rapport building some trust, getting to know each other. Is there a mutual fit here? Do we trust each other? Great. Now let's set up an actual demo. Great. So I like that. So the third one here, Ryan, is I think this is the final one in the sequence. So I don't want to flood your inbox with annoying emails. So I'll assume the timing isn't right if I don't hear back this time. Would you mind pointing me to the appropriate person? So this is the classic appropriate person. Hey, can you help me out? These there's a couple of things. One, you can kind of tell that they come from some kind of sequence. Then you're now I'm in step 3 of the sequence. So, okay, I can easily ignore that one. But I also if I haven't really been intrigued by the message, I don't really feel comfortable pointing you to someone within the organization because I haven't really built any trust with you yet.
Yeah, well, that's a great point. And for me, when I hear I don't want to flood your inbox with annoying emails, It means that you think that your emails are annoying. That's how I read that, right? And I try to help coach against this all the time. Mindset's so important. If you're going to be successful as a sales development rep, you have to passionately, genuinely believe that you can solve the problems that your product or service provides to your prospective customers. And so this person should not even be in your outreach if you don't think that they actually have a problem you can solve. So all of your messaging should follow in a way that says, you know, I'm here to help. This is the problem. Here's how we help. This is the problem. Here's how we help. This is the problem. Here's how we help. Anything associated with, I don't want to bother you, I don't want to be annoying, it means that you don't believe that you can help them. Yeah. That's how I think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, it even takes it back. Like if right now you're between jobs or you're doing some interviewing, I always say, like, take a step back. You know, you're going to be working at that company for 40, 50-hour weeks, you know, for the next couple of years, potentially. You know, you want to get involved in something that you're actually interested in, and you're interested in the problem that you're solving, and you bring that passion every day, because then, like, to Ryan's point, you never have to apologize. You, like, if you had the cure for some disease and you were like knocking on doors of people that you could potentially help, you know, you would feel that passion, you know, and this, whatever you're behind, you could potentially really help somebody out. You got to feel that passion. You're never going to be sorry. Dude, here's the problem. If you have that problem, we can help solve it. And that's why I'm trying to get in front of you. If not, cool. Let's keep in touch. Right, Ryan?
Yep. Absolutely. And I love that, you know, that's the best way of explaining that. I'm gonna steal that from you. You know, I try to bring it into something like, hey, what do you care about? Like, okay, if someone brought that product to you, would you be interested in? Yeah, of course you would. Right. But the disease thing's perfect. You know, say you have a cure for, you know, cancer and you got a list of everyone who had cancer. Wouldn't you be pretty passionate about trying to tell them you can help them? It's the same thing. That's how you should feel about the product or service that you're representing. And if you don't, well, I mean, you're going to have a hard time having success long-term anyway. You should, like, I mean, this is, I just watched a video on Gary Vee said this yesterday on this video I was watching. And, you know, he gets fired up about this stuff, but it's like, if you're in sales and you don't like the product or service you're selling, then you're not going to be successful. That's number one. And second, like, you just have to love being a salesman, and being a salesman today is not the snake oily car salesman, pull wool over your eyes, let me trick you into something. It's being, you have a problem that I know I can solve, and let me show you how.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel that passion behind what you're saying. And you know, if you're sitting there going, well, you know, my product, I mean, it's cool, but, you know, I don't know if I'm really passionate about it. We'll try to flip it around and learn as much as you can about the buyer, and about the people that buy your product, and how they use it, and how it helps affect and make them better and solve problems for them. I mean, maybe you can, you know, the more that you become educated on the buyer and you get into that world, the more passion that you can bring to being able to solve their problem, because they're actual people, right? And you know, maybe you can't get excited about whatever, you know, company you're at, but at least you can learn more about the buyer and you know, get into their world and how you help them solve problems, and then build that confidence from there, because it will come through in your messaging. But Ryan, I want to give props here to this gentleman. He sent in some great stuff, his initial email and also a voicemail, and he's reaching out to facility leaders at Fortune 500 firms. So I'm sure it's a tough market to crack into, but they have a great solution. And, you know, he writes that, hey, I hope this email finds you well. We haven't spoken before, but I work with these various facility leaders around the globe, and I haven't yet connected with anyone, you know, at your company. So X is an app that helps with HVAC and operational savings, and used by tens of leading firms, including those. Tenants love us, and directors use our insights to make more strategic decisions. Can we put 5 to 10 minutes on your calendar to see if our innovations can help your portfolio? Okay. So seems like a good message. I like the way that it's not too long. It's broken out in an easy way for me to realize. Quick chat. It makes me think that I'm not, buying into too much time here. Ryan, your initial thoughts on this one?
Honestly, I think it's a pretty good email. There's a few things that as we break it down, build it back up, I would highlight, but in general, this is a decent email, right? For a cold email, which, everyone's going to have their opinions on it. We share ours every week, but, he's coming right out and saying, so long as his targeting is there, we work with real estate, workplace, and facility leaders, at Fortune 500, around the globe. Now, the things I'm talking about here is, the one things that I would work on is let's eliminate anything that's not relevant on our list. So we haven't spoken before. That's not really relevant. I don't think it's necessary. So we can maybe eliminate that. That's something you might even want to test, right? Maybe it's a way to break in a little bit. But the other thing is real estate, workplace, and facility leaders. So is this a workplace leader? Is it a real estate leader, or is it a facility leader? Let's actually target the message to the specific individual so it speaks closer to them. Outside of that, the tens of leading firms. Again, if Salesforce is really close to the new Fortune 500 firm they're targeting, then reference Salesforce. Microsoft, same thing, right? Microsoft, Salesforce. That makes sense that it's that they're aligned. Just make sure that WeWork is not the same as Salesforce and Microsoft, right? That's a co-working space versus a technology company. So, and this is just me being nitpicky here on ways that we can improve it. But overall, this is a great email.
Yeah, I really like it a lot. And you make a good point. It's if you kind of, again, we're putting ourselves into the shoes of potentially the real estate, workplace, or facility leader, and trying to kind of get inside their head to see if the problem that we solve resonates. And so I like what you said in, maybe one day or 1 week, you just focus on the real estate leaders and target both the first sentence and then also the leading firms to what would appeal to them the most. And, get rid of we haven't spoken before, just go straight into, we work with people like yourself, to solve this issue, and I haven't connected with you yet. Can I get a few minutes on your calendar to see how we can help you as well? Super short. You can read it on your phone. My problem, you get it, and you want some time. If I need that, or that speaks to me, boom, I'm going to get back to you. So I think it's a strong start. And I also have his voicemail that he uses to follow that up. So let me make sure that you can hear this. Let me see, how do I do this? Hold on 1 sec. Ryan, can you hear this?
Hey, David. The reason I call it.
It's really light.
Okay, cool. But there is some sound coming through?
Yeah, there's some sound.
Okay, cool. Let's see, I just need to move this out of the way. Okay, bear with me for 1 second. This is the sound.
Hey, David. The reason I call today is that we are working with directors of real estate and enterprises like Google, Salesforce, and WeWork to help them gain better information on how people use their physical space when they come to work. This allows them to justify strategic decisions, which result in 15 to 25% increases in building operational efficiency on average and higher worker productivity and satisfaction. Please give me a call back at 945-4594. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Did that come through, Ryan?
It did. Yeah.
Good. Okay. So that's the initial call. So you just picked up that on your voicemail. You're one of these facility leaders. You just picked up that on your voicemail. Let me play it a little bit at a time here and just point out a couple quick things.
Hey, David. The reason I call today is that we are working with directors of real estate and enterprises like Google, Salesforce, and WeWork.
Okay. So right there, he goes into, we're working with the real estate or whoever the persona is at enterprises such as. And what I noticed a little bit about that, Ryan, and I want to get your thoughts, is that he goes straight into the big enterprises and starts name dropping the companies. but he doesn't really address the fact that I'm an actual person, and he's calling me specifically. That he wants to talk to me about how his solution is going to make my life better. Did you pick that up?
I didn't pick up the intro the way you just did, but you bring up a great point, right? Can you play that one more time?
Yeah, let me play that one more time. And just for context, like put yourself in my shoes. I'm a busy guy. I got 20 voicemails from all these people. But I do have potentially the problem that this person could solve. Okay. I pick up this voicemail.
Hey, David. The reason for my call today is that we are working with directors of real estate and enterprises like Google, Salesforce, and WeWork to help them gain a better information on how people use their physical space when they come to work.
Okay.
Yeah. So I hear that. I mean, if I'm the director of real estate and I'm David, okay, I'm listening to you. You address, hey, David, we work with directors. Oh, you work with people like me. And at companies like mine, if I'm a large enterprise, for me, I think that's okay. I like the fact that he's getting right into keeping me kind of interested because it's relevant. As long as I'm the director of real estate and I'm similar to these large enterprises, I might be willing to listen a little bit more. Personally, right? That messaging isn't bad for me, and I have a lot of success using that tactic on my cold calls by leading with if I have customers that are going to pique people's interest versus trying to start with the problem. It does have ability to just get past that defense and people wanting to learn a little bit more. Curious what you think about that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, the more that I listen to that, maybe I just have to listen to it a couple times. It is a strong intro. Maybe the only thing that I would suggest is to say like you. So I'm working with facility managers in your exact space, people just like you, to help solve these issues. Here's some of the companies, and here's the issue, and I'd really like to talk to you about it. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's a lot of ways to test this messaging, and I think you bring up a good point. There's a question here from the chat. John's coming in here. What do you think about this, David? Should we have mentioned, or should he have mentioned that he dropped him a note first?
Yeah, I think that you always want to refer them back to their email box. I actually think that that's a really good point. Refer them back to their email box because it's kind of a stretch, especially if you're using like local dialer, for them to just hit dial back and call you back. Especially if they're on their office phone, they might not have an initial redial thing, and we hardly get any phone calls back, especially from cold calling. So I would definitely suggest when you leave the voicemail to refer them back to the email box, because people live in their email box all day and they might go, oh yeah, John called, here's his email, here's a reply, let's grab 15 minutes.
Absolutely. I think there's so much kind of conversation around this. Different people have different approaches to referencing previous touches versus not. I think in today's crazy busy world, if you're leading with value and you're actually delivering your messaging and you're confident that your email is sound and this voicemail is sound, certainly reference them back, because you're telling them, hey, I've got the right audience. Here's this right message. Hopefully this is the right time, and tell me which is your preferred channel. You can call me back. You can email me back. Shoot, I'm also hitting them on social. Maybe they want to ping me there. But that's my formula, right? Right audience, right message, right time, and the preferred channel. So by referencing your previous touches, if you're sound with your messaging, is going to potentially get you a likely re-engagement. You have to be careful if you don't really believe in your messaging and you're back to one of those automated guys and you're sending out stuff that's not relevant and your messaging, you fumble over your voicemail. If you reference that previous attempt, you might get yourself in a corner where they're going to respond, no thanks, right? And you didn't get anywhere. So, so I subscribe to exactly what you said, David. If you really feel confident in your messaging, because it's giving them the opportunity to respond where they want to.
Okay, cool. So let's run through this one more time. We'll listen to that intro one more time, and then I want to get into the content of identifying the problem and see if we can work on that a little bit.
Hey, David. The reason for my call today is that we are working with directors of real estate and enterprises like Google, Salesforce, and WeWork to help them gain better information on how people use their physical space when they come to work. This allows them to justify strategic decisions, which result in 15 to 25% increases in building operational efficiency on average and higher worker productivity and satisfaction. Please give me a call back at 9.
Okay, so again, the tone, very professional. I like the confidence. The intro is good, and like I said, maybe just say, it's instead of just going straight into the other companies. We work with people like you, dude. You're an actual person, and we work with people like you. We help them a lot with this problem. And I think where it could use some work there, Ryan, is that that's a really interesting thing that they do. But it's like, how does that translate into some sort of KPI or something that's important to me as the person that's actually answering the phone? Versus it felt a little bit abstract, and then it might be easier for me just to hit delete. What are your thoughts?
So I'm not a director of facilities or director of real estate at a major enterprise and managing facilities, but I do hear him say he's helping them understand how people are using their space to provide some efficiencies, and he's throwing some metrics and movement in there, which it doesn't resonate with me personally because I'm not that person, but that might be a problem. I mean, as a facility manager, you might be challenged with understanding how people are using your facilities. And so to me, it sounds like he's doing a decent job of honing in on a specific potential pain point. How are people managing your facilities? And then again, giving some movement on how others are seeing some success with their solution, what they're providing with movement, specific metrics with movement, which is really sound. So I think the challenge I have is that I don't relate to this message, but that doesn't mean that that's not bad. The one thing that I would reference here to get back to your tone though is if I'm really gonna kind of break this down and build it back up, is this is clearly a script. You can hear him kind of stumble a couple times while reading through, just a little bit. He's confident with his tone, but you can tell he's kind of reading. So if this is your messaging, make sure that you're practicing it, and having an opportunity to deliver it where it doesn't sound scripted and it sounds natural.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, you got to, like, people ask me a lot, hey, should I have a script, or should my SDRs use scripts? And I'm like, at first, of course, because maybe you don't know anything about facility management and you just, got the job a couple of weeks ago. So you got to have a script. You got to know, what the best way to, do it is at first. But you got to take it the next step further, is like Ryan said, read it so many times that it just becomes rote, and then you could put your own spin on it and make it even more impactful and confident on the phone, so it doesn't sound like you're reading. I mean, that's my philosophy on scripts.
I'm a huge fan of them. You need to have them. You got to own your messaging, but the challenge is you need to practice it and eventually wean yourself off.
Yeah. So this is good. So to the gentleman who sent in these messages, it sounds like our professor here from Sales Bootcamp gives you high marks on them, and you're getting there. We like them. It's just, make it a little bit more relevant, pointed toward the problem, and really hone in on that. And then, just be confident, get off the script, be confident in the messaging, and keep working on it. So That was awesome. Ryan, we got a couple more minutes. Are there any more questions that came in on chat or anything that anybody has before we let you guys get back to your day?
Trying to pull up. It looks like there was a question around getting access to copy. So, it looks like John was excited about that email as well. Would like to see if he could get access to that. David, you record these and send them out. So you won't be able to copy paste it necessarily, but you can certainly take a look at the recording and pause it and type out your own version. Highly recommend making any templates that you use out there. Whether it's looking at Yesware's blogs or HubSpot's blogs, there's a lot of great templates you can work off of, but be careful when you're using these templates because you're going to rely on a framework that others might be using as well. And while your messaging might be good, when a prospect in a certain segment is getting the exact same emails with the same segmentation, they look at the structure and delete you versus the message. And so be careful when you're trying to take other people's templates. I really recommend trying to make it your own.
Yeah. I just read a note from John Barrows about there's the alligator email. Like a lot of people found out that template and they just cut and pasted it. And it's like, now everyone's getting these emails that ask, have you been eaten by alligators? I mean, it's good to have humor and try to lighten things up. But if everybody else is using the exact same template, then you might get in trouble. So yeah, but like you mentioned, we're going to have this recording up on the 10bound YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed there, definitely hit subscribe and you'll get the note every time these come out. And hey, Ryan, that was an awesome break and build. Thanks again for doing it and all the advice for everybody.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again. This is exciting. Looking forward to next time.
Okay. Yeah. We'll see you guys on Break and Build 4 in a couple weeks. Have a good holiday if we don't talk.
Happy holidays.